There are some words that they hit you differently. They sort of slam into your life and split it right down the middle into a before and an after.
Yeah.
And, sometimes the most devastating ones aren't even the ones spoken directly to you.
That's a powerful thought.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into a story exactly like that. It's a really personal account from a man named Mark Cunningham. He details his family's fight against his son Michael's cancer.
Right.
It's incredibly raw,
Yeah.
very powerful stuff. And our mission here is really to pull out those crucial moments, the unexpected turns, and just the sheer emotional complexity of navigating a health crisis that throws absolutely everything into question.
Absolutely right. And this isn't just like a medical timeline. It's so much more. It's a story about human resilience, really.
Yeah.
The power of hope, definitely, but also that constant struggle navigating this flood of information and the emotional whiplash of family experiences.
Whiplash is a good word for it.
Right. It really is. What's so striking, I think, is just how quickly life can pivot, right? And how a family has to profoundly adapt to these obstacles they just didn't see coming.
Okay, so let's set the scene. This is February 2007. We meet the Cunningham family. Mark, who wrote this account, was 47 then, a journeyman electrician.
Okay.
His wife, Carol, married 26 years. She was an elementary school secretary. They had 2 sons, Mitchell, the youngest, 18, a high school senior. And Michael, the oldest, he's 21. And his dream was to be a livestock auctioneer.
Wow. Okay. A specific dream.
Yeah. And Mark, he says himself, before this, cancer was, well, it was serious, obviously. His father-in-law had battled it.
Right.
But ultimately, it felt like something that happened to, quote, other people, other families, not theirs.
That's a very common feeling, I think, until it's not other people anymore.
Exactly. And then February 8, 2007, everything just changed. Mark and Carol heard the words. They were told, Mr. and Mrs. Cunningham, during surgery, we found a mass in your son's stomach. I believe it is cancer.
Oh, wow. Just like that.
Just like that. And Mark writes so clearly, he desperately wished those words had been aimed at him.
God, that's heartbreaking, isn't it? And Michael, before this moment, he'd just been dealing with stomach aches since early January.
Yeah, started in early January 2007. Stomach aches, missed some work. They tried medications for like acid reflux, maybe ulcers.
Standard stuff first.
Right, standard stuff. But nothing worked. It just kept getting worse.
And that really highlights something, doesn't it? How often do we maybe dismiss those early symptoms or assume it's something simple? And what this story shows is how that seemingly, benign discomfort just escalated.
Yeah.
It really brings into focus how that diagnostic journey can be so bewildering, right? It's often not instant answers. It's this process of elimination, ruling things out.
And it must have been so blindsiding when that answer finally came. What's also quite poignant, I think, is that Michael, as a young guy, 21, working at the Callaway livestock auction, he was already having a tough time just getting health insurance.
Yeah. That's a familiar struggle for young adults.
Right. He actually ended up taking a second job at a distribution center, worked this brutal Friday through Sunday shift just so he could get coverage.
Wow. So he was already fighting a battle just for basic health care access.
Yeah, it adds another layer, definitely. So, okay, the stomachache gets worse. He starts throwing up.
Right.
Which finally leads to a CT scan on February 6th.
Okay, so they're getting imaging now.
Yeah, the CT scan that's, the advanced X-ray giving detailed pictures, it showed something called a cecal intussusception.
Intussusception. Okay. Yeah. That's where part of the intestine telescopes into itself.
Exactly, like you described, like a garden hose collapsing inward. And the surgeon was apparently quite surprised.
Why is that?
Because it usually happens in babies or maybe adults over 50. Not typically in a 21-year-old.
Okay. So even before the C word, there was a flag, something unusual was going on?
Right, an early sign.
So that initial surgery, February 8th, was just meant to fix the intussusception, like a straightforward procedure.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
A simple procedure, they thought.
But this case, it just perfectly illustrates how quickly things can change, doesn't it? A routine procedure suddenly uncovers something vastly more complex.
Totally unexpected.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder that these medical journeys, they can pivot in an instant. From simple fix to life-altering diagnosis.
And the waiting. Mark describes it agonizing. The surgeon had mentioned a similar operation took maybe 45 minutes.
Okay.
But Michael's went on over an hour and a half.
Oh, that wait must have been terrible. Every minute feels like an hour.
Absolutely. Finally, the surgeon calls him into a conference room and delivers the news. They found a mass about the size of a golf ball just above Michael's appendix.
And that was causing the intussusception.
Exactly. The surgeon was, Mark says, confident it was cancer, though he wasn't sure what type yet. Maybe carcinoma, maybe lymphoma.
Still devastating uncertainty, though.
Oh, completely. Mark describes this visceral reaction like a punch to the stomach, feeling choked up, pulling at his collar.
A physical reaction to the shock.
Yeah, and Carol was just sobbing uncontrollably.
And then right there, in that shock and grief, they face this immediate, awful challenge. How do you tell Michael?
Exactly. The doctor advised waiting until the morning, let him rest overnight.
Which just highlights that immense burden, right? The family becoming the messengers of this shattering news, trying to shield their son while reeling themselves.
It's an impossible position.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
So they start making these incredibly hard phone calls.
Yeah.
To bosses, to family members. People have questions, obviously. But Mark and Carol, they don't have any real answers yet.
Just the horrible basic fact.
Right. But what's amazing is, Mark writes, the community support started almost instantly. Justin, a friend of Michael's in the family, he just showed up at the hospital.
That's incredible, people stepping up.
Yeah, and Carol's boss, Melva, she came too.
Yeah.
Just to be there.
Wow.
Then Mark had the task of picking up Mitchell, the younger son, from his high school basketball game.
Oh boy. How do you even start that conversation?
Well, Mitchell's reaction was surprisingly calm.
Yeah.
He apparently just said, it'll give me something else to think about.
Huh. Teenagers process things differently, I guess. Maybe shock.
Maybe. Mark actually decided to take him back to the game for a bit. When they returned to the hospital later, Michael was awake, and Mark says he was in unbelievable spirits, smiling, joking.
Despite everything. Wow.
Yeah. And another coworker of Carol's, V, also came by to offer support. It sounds like they were really surrounded quickly.
That network is so crucial. Meanwhile, the parents are probably clinging to any sliver of hope, right? Like the lymphoma possibility.
Definitely. The surgeon had mentioned lymphoma might be more predictable, maybe easier to treat than carcinoma.
Right.
So they were desperately hoping for that, or, maybe even a benign outcome somehow.
And that really gets at something profound in Mark's account, doesn't it? That desperate human need to find the least bad option.
Yeah.
Even when faced with something awful. Hoping for lymphoma, which is still cancer, it's just this raw testament to needing some tiny bit of control or predictability in a situation that feels completely out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. That night, Mark says, was sleepless for him and Carol. They cried, but separately, silently, each dealing with their own grief.
Facing it alone, together.
Yeah. The next morning, February 9th, Mark tells Michael. He kept it direct, brief, just told him they found cancer.
How did Michael react then?
His first reaction was pain and maybe anger. He said, "Why didn't you say anything then?"
Yeah. He wanted to know immediately.
Seems like it. He asked them to leave his room for a bit so he could process it alone.
Understandable.
Later, though, he was reassured. The surgeon emphasized that cancer didn't automatically mean death, that it was treatable, and staying positive was important.
Setting the right frame of mind early on.
And then, relatively soon after, they got the news they'd been hoping for, in a way.
It was lymphoma.
It was confirmed as lymphoma. The better of the bad options as they saw it then.
Okay. A small relief amidst the storm.
A small one. Michael's hospital stay was pretty brief, actually. And apparently, a nurse gave him some simple advice about drinking too much water, which was causing issues, and that actually helped him get discharged sooner.
Sometimes it's the practical little things.
Right. So fast forward just a bit to February 14th, Valentine's Day. Their first meeting with the oncologist.
Okay, the cancer specialist. This is where the real plan starts.
Yes.
Yes.
And another massive shock. The diagnosis wasn't just lymphoma, it was Burkitt's lymphoma.
Oh, Burkitt's, that's different.
Very different. The oncologist described it as, quote, a rare lymphoma, an extremely aggressive lymphoma, capable of doubling in size overnight. Spreads incredibly quickly.
Wow. That's terrifying, aggressive, and fast.
The initial prognosis was just brutal. If not treated, you will be dead in 3 months.
Oh my God. Just laid out like that.
But then, immediately after dropping that bomb, the oncologist delivered the counter message. With treatment, there's an 80% chance of survival, and we are going to cure this.
What an incredible swing. From months to live to an 80% cure rate.
Total whiplash again.
Yeah. And Mark's account really highlights this, how hope in these crises isn't just like one steady feeling. It's this constant dance with brutal honesty.
Absolutely.
It requires such immense emotional agility from everyone involved, the patient, the family, to hold both those things, the terrible risk and the powerful hope at the same time.
So the battle plan was formed. They called it the kitchen sink therapy.
Meaning throw everything at it.
Everything.
Yeah.
Aggressive chemo, lots of different drugs. And there were immediate next steps lined up.
Okay.
A bone marrow check, more scans, CT, and PD scans this time.
PET scans look at metabolic activity, right? To see if cells are acting cancerous.
Exactly. And they needed to install 2 catheter ports for the chemo. One in his chest, one in his head, because some drugs needed to go directly into the spinal fluid.
Wow. Okay, so really gearing up for a major fight.
A major fight indeed. Michael's first chemo round started February 21st, 2007. They all went to a chemo class first to sort of brace themselves for what was coming.
Preparation, yeah.
Yeah.
Important.
And there was some initial good news. His scans before starting were clear, which was a huge relief.
Okay, a positive start.
But the chemo itself, it hit hard right away. Michael had these episodes of uncontrollable shivering.
Like rigors, intense chills.
Yes, so intense. They needed Demerol, the pain med, just to control the shaking.
That sounds distressing. A side effect of the drugs, presumably.
Must have been. At one point, Mark described seeing 5 different bags of medication dripping into Michael simultaneously.
Whoa, that's a lot of chemicals going in.
But on the flip side, when he got home after that first round, his appetite was apparently incredible.
Huh. Body craving fuel after the assault.
Maybe so. But then, the first big setback hit. Late February, early March. A staph infection.
Oh, no. Where?
Around the port in his head.
Ugh, infections are always a risk with ports and low immunity.
Right, so they had to remove the head port, which meant another hospital stay, IV antibiotics.
Just another complication to deal with. Delaying treatment.
Possibly. Round 2 of chemo started March 13th, and this one involved a painful spinal injection, a lumbar puncture.
Yeah, chemo into the spine for Burkitt's is common.
He had to be in a fetal position for it. And Mark notes Michael's tough assessment afterwards. He said the doctor's fingernails digging into his back hurt more than the actual needle.
Huh. Leave it to a patient to notice the details. But those lumbar punctures can have side effects too, right?
They sure can. After one of them, Michael developed a bad spinal headache.
Yeah. Caused by spinal fluid leaking.
Exactly. So you needed something called a blood patch.
Where they inject his own blood into the area to seal the leak.
That's the one.
You know, what's really striking here is how the body isn't just fighting the cancer. It's reacting intensely to the treatments themselves.
Constantly.
Yeah, requiring constant adaptation, dealing with these unexpected side effects that need their own interventions. It really shows the complexity of modern cancer care. It's not just about killing cancer cells.
No, it's managing the fallout too. And there was more. His platelet count plummeted.
Platelets are needed for clotting, right?
Right. Normal's like 130, 400,000. Michael's dropped to just 8,000.
8? Wow, that's critically low. Risk of serious bleeding.
Extremely low. So he needed platelet transfusions. And Mark recalls this poignant moment, thinking about how Michael, as a kid, would say, not fine, when he was really sick. And Mark felt he was definitely not fine now.
Powerful connection to the past. Amidst all this, though, any good news?
There was one bit. He developed a lump under his armpit, which was worrying.
Yeah, could be lymphoma spread.
But they biopsied it, and it turned out to be benign, just inflammation or something. A rare piece of genuinely good news.
Oh, thank goodness. They needed that.
They really did. And despite all these just overwhelming struggles, Mark highlights these moments of light, too.
Yeah, like what?
Michael's appetite came back strong, his sense of humor, his wit returned, which must have been such a relief.
Oh, hugely important for morale.
And the support network was still strong. Friends like Justin and Brett were constantly around. And Mitchell, the younger brother, he really stepped up at home, doing dishes, laundry, taking on responsibility.
That's great to hear. Families pulling together.
Yeah, and Mark actually notes a real shift in the family dynamics, especially between him and Michael.
How so?
He describes them both as being, opinionated, headstrong, and stubborn before this.
Okay. Father and eldest son dynamic, maybe.
Maybe. But he says they grew closer through the ordeal. They started listening to each other more, saying please and thank you more often. Small things, but significant.
Wow. Shared vulnerability, forging new connections.
Seems like it. And they found simple joys, watching silly TV shows together, like Extreme Foods or Cooking with Paula Deen. And Mark just treasured the sound of Michael's laughter.
Those small moments become everything, don't they?
Yeah.
If you connect that to the bigger picture, it's just such a powerful reminder. Even in the absolute darkest times, human connection, those little sparks of joy, they become essential lifelines.
Definitely.
They don't make the suffering go away, but they provide the strength, the comfort, the reason to keep fighting.
Absolutely. And then, on May 1st, 2007, came this really incredible emotional high point.
Okay. What happened?
Michael received this certificate, like an award, called the Purple Heart Award from the clinic.
A Purple Heart, like the military medal.
Sort of a symbolic version for chemo patients, apparently. It signified no more chemo, no more lumbar punctures, no more planned hospital stays.
Wow. That's huge. The end of treatment.
The end of the scheduled treatment protocol, yeah. Mark called it their get-out-of-jail-free card. He said there were tears of joy that day.
I can only imagine the relief. Just overwhelming.
Totally overwhelming. But even with that incredible Purple Heart moment, that feeling of being done with chemo, the reality wasn't quite that simple, was it?
Rarely is with cancer.
They understood it was, like the start of remission, hopefully leading to being cured. But the worry wasn't over. Michael's blood counts were still low, still vulnerable.
Right. The body needs time to recover from the treatment itself.
Exactly. And that became clear really quickly.
Yeah.
Almost immediately after getting the all clear, Michael burned the roof of his mouth.
Oh, ouch. On what?
On pizza, of all things.
Happens to the best of us. But for him...
For him, with those low counts, it wasn't just a minor burn. It got infected or wouldn't heal properly. He ended up back in the hospital.
Just from burning his mouth.
Oh, yeah. Needed more blood and platelet transfusions. And Mark says Michael was incredibly frustrated. Beautiful spring weather outside, and he's stuck back in the hospital.
I can understand that frustration. So close to freedom, then pulled back in.
Totally. So the anxiety wasn't gone, and it all built towards the next big scan date, May 29th.
Okay, the follow-up scan to check if the treatment worked.
Right. Mark described it as the most anticipated appointment. It would bring either joy or devastation. No middle ground.
The stakes couldn't be higher.
He even packed an overnight bag for Michael when they went to the appointment, just in case.
Wow. Always preparing for the worst, even while hoping for the best. That's the reality.
That was their reality.
Oh.
So, May 29th, they get the scan results, and it's not clear-cut good news.
Oh, no. What did they find?
The doctor found suspicious spots, about 1 centimeter each, in Michael's lung area.
Lungs. Oh, that's concerning.
Mark said his heart just sank. Carol looked totally overwhelmed. And Michael, direct as always, just asked straight out, is it cancer?
What did the doctor say? Well, he was cautious. He said it could be infection. Remember, Michael had that staph infection earlier.
Right, the armpit thing too, even though benign. And his white cell count was still low, making infection plausible.
Okay.
But he couldn't rule out that the Burkitts had come back in his lungs this time.
So more uncertainty, agonizing uncertainty.
Exactly. The doctor decided the best course was to wait. Wait 4 weeks, then rescan.
4 more weeks of waiting. Ah, that's torture.
Must have been.
And this really highlights something important about medical imaging, doesn't it? It's not always black and white. There's often ambiguity, shadows, spots that could be something or could be nothing. And that leads to this terrible period of waiting for definitive answers. The images alone aren't always the full story.
Right. During that waiting period, though, Michael actually participated in the Randolph County Relay for Life event on June 2nd.
Oh, good for him, staying engaged.
Yeah, someone convinced him that every day a cancer victim lives, he's a survivor. And Mark says it was uplifting. Michael even got to do a bit of auctioneering at the event, his passion.
That's wonderful. A moment of normalcy and doing what he loved.
Definitely needed. But the tension just kept building towards the next scan date, June 27th.
The 4-week mark.
Yeah. Physically, Michael felt great. His hair was growing back. He was regaining strength. But the family was really worried about his mental state if the news was bad, if he had to face more chemo.
Understandable. The psychological toll is immense.
So June 27th arrives. They get the results of the PET scan, and it's devastating.
Oh, no. The spots were cancer.
The doctor confirmed it. The PET scan showed cancer activity in his chest, his shoulder, his pelvis. Mark just wrote, "The worst news we could get." Carol started crying immediately.
Oh, God, after everything he'd been through.
And the doctor, who Mark said was visibly shaken himself, delivered the prognosis.
What did he say this time?
He said weeks. I can't say months or years. We're talking weeks, like 6 or 8.
Weeks. 6 to 8 weeks to live.
Yeah. Mark said everyone in the room just started crying then. Him, Carol, Michael, the doctor.
Unimaginable. Just absolutely crushing.
Mark describes being in a complete fog afterwards, making calls to family again, delivering this horrific news. Michael apparently slept most of the drive home, still groggy from drugs they gave him for a procedure that day. Just silence and shock.
What a devastating blow. It seems like the end of the road.
It absolutely seemed like it. But then, the most impossible turnaround happened.
Wait, what? After that prognosis?
The very next day, June 28th, Michael's oncologist called Mark. He said he'd spent the previous evening reviewing the scans again, consulting with other doctors, radiologists, pathologists.
Reevaluating the evidence.
Yes, and based on that collaborative review, they'd changed their minds. The spots were not lymphoma.
Not lymphoma. What were they then?
They concluded it was an infection or possibly a fungus, something related to his compromised immune system.
How could they be sure this time? What changed?
A few key things didn't fit the picture for aggressive, recurrent Burkitt's. Michael wasn't in significant pain, which they'd expect with bone involvement in the shoulder and pelvis.
Okay, clinical presentation didn't match.
His bone marrow test, done just before the scan, was clear. No cancer cells there.
Another good sign.
And his LDH blood levels, that marker that's often high in lymphoma.
Yes, lactate dehydrogenase, yeah.
His were normal. So, putting all that clinical evidence together contradicted what the PT scan seemed to show.
Wow. So the scan lit up, but the other pieces didn't fit the cancer puzzle. That's incredible. And what's fascinating there is the power of critical thinking, right? And collaboration in medicine.
Absolutely.
They didn't just take the alarming image at face value, they questioned it. They looked at the whole patient, all the clinical data, brought in other experts.
Yeah.
And that collaborative analysis, that willingness to reconsider, literally pulled this family back from the brink of unimaginable grief. It shows how vital that second look, that deeper dive can be.
It really does. The relief must have been, there are no words. But Mark also talks about the exhaustion, just completely drained from that emotional roller coaster, as he called it.
I can't even fathom it. The swing from weeks to live to it's an infection in 24 hours.
It's unbelievable. And Mark notes, things didn't just snap back to how they were before. There were long-term changes.
Like what?
An enduring hyper-awareness, he calls it. Always listening for symptoms, always aware that normal, the old normal would never really return. The shadow of recurrence is always there, even faintly.
That's anxiety, the fear. It often lingers long after treatment ends. That's a common experience for survivors and families.
Yeah. But alongside that, there was also this profound sense of hope and appreciation. The family bonds, already tested, were now even deeper.
Forged in fire.
Mark felt he'd become more patient. Michael had a much greater appreciation for his mom and his brother, seeing everything they did.
It changes perspective, doesn't it, going through something like that?
Fundamentally, it seems.
So this whole deep dive, this story, it really underscores that idea that knowledge, facts, they're most valuable when they're truly understood and applied in context, right? Even when the initial facts seem overwhelming, like that PET scan, there's always more to learn from different perspectives, from new information, from looking deeper. Michael's recovery is just this incredible testament to that collaboration, to persistence, and just raw human resilience.
It truly is an incredible journey they went on, the Cunningham family. From the absolute depths of despair, thinking they had only weeks left, to these unexpected pinnacles of joy and relief. It really makes you think about hope, about resilience, and, what does survivor even mean after all that?
It does.
So, for you listening to this, maybe consider that. What does it truly mean to be cancer-free when the memory, the possibility, it kind of forever changes how you see health?
Yeah.
And maybe how do we cultivate that gratitude, strengthen those family bonds when we face life's biggest uncertainties? Even when, like in this case, the outcome is ultimately, thankfully, positive, it leaves a mark, doesn't it?
It certainly does. A lot to think about there.